Hi and thanks for joining us. Holly Shields here and you're watching Calcine TV live from Sydney. This is the last show of the day, the last trade. A falling oil price and travel jitters over Europe's latest COVID wave weighed on the ASX 200 this morning. During noon, the bourse recovered some ground but it was still down 0.5%. Eventually, the local market followed Friday's dips for its counterpart markets in the US and Europe thanks to a turn in investor sentiment, prompted by sharply rising COVID-19 cases. At the market close, the ASX 200 dropped 43.40 points, or 0.59%, and crossed below its 125-day moving average. The index has lost 1.57% for the last 5 days, but sits 3.66% below its 52-week high. On the sectoral front, 7 of 11 sectors were lower, with materials being the best performer, gaining 0.48% and rebounding from its recent decline. Stocks in the materials sector ruled the gainers list today, and on top of the chart was Nickel Mines, up nearly 8% after the company signed a multifaceted MOU with Shanghai Decent Investment, setting out a framework for future collaborations between the parties over the next several years. Following suit was Pilbara Minerals, up 4.4% today. Other top performers include Omni Bridgeway, Orocobre and Alliance Rare Earths. Then on the flip side, Flight Centre, Travel Group and Corporate Travel Management, led the declines, down 7% and 6% respectively. Other laggards include Unival, Redamco, Westfield, Silver Lake Resources and Tyro Payments. Moving on now, let's take a look at the stocks that interested investors today. Well, AMP Capital is set to retain control of a $7 billion unlisted office fund after the independent committee recommended against rival proposals for its flagship vehicle to move the stable of either Mirvac or GPT. The recommendation is for the AMP Capital Wholesale Office Fund to become a part of the Private Markets Co. AMP shares rose by nearly 3% today. Then, embattled e-forensics group Nuix has received a class action claim filed against it in the Supreme Court of Victoria. The claim alleges that Nuix contravened provisions of the Corporations Act of 2001, the Australian Security Exchange and Investment Commission Act 2001, and the Australian Consumer Law in connection with its disclosure concerning forecast financial year 21 revenue. Today, shares traded in the red zone, and Qantas is doubling down on its move to India, launching direct flights between Melbourne and New Delhi for the first time in its history, alongside a new service from Sydney set to start next month. Chief Executive Alan Joyce said he expected strong demand for the service given Melbourne has a large Indian community. Qantas shares traded down by over 4% today. And speaking of travel stocks, they fell following a fresh wave of COVID-19 cases in the US and Europe, which have already triggered lockdowns in Australia. Flight Centre was the big laggard among the blue chips, down nearly 7%, while Corporate Travel Management dropped over 5%. Then shares in the heart valve biotech Anteris Technologies jumped as much as 22% this morning to a high of 10.90 after the company confirmed it had successfully placed its 3D heart valve into 5 patients over the past week. The company told investors it had provided the valves to 5 patients as a part of a study at the Tbilisi Heart Vascular Clinic in Georgia. The procedures were successful for all patients with no complications. Well, now it's time for a short break, but on the other side, more market updates. Tune in to stay updated while on the move.
We will tell you where the crypto craze has reached,
where the property market is headed next,
what the world is doing to become more environmentally friendly,
apart from tracking the daily market charter.
Be on top of the latest news and announcements
with Calcine TV. Welcome back to the market closing report. Let's now have a look at some more trending market updates. Well, in the East, shares in the Asia-Pacific region traded mixed, and Tokyo stocks opened lower as investors turned wary after that the Dow Jones ended down last week. The benchmark Nikkei 225 index fell 0.45%, while the broader Topix index slipped 0.65%. Hong Kong stocks opened flat following last week's losses, and the Hang Seng index inched up 7.09 points. The Shanghai Composite Index ticked up as well 0.07%, and then in South Korea, the Kospi gained 1.21%. In mainland China, the Shanghai Composite rose 0.65%, while the Shenzhen Component advanced 1.161%. On the economic front, China kept the one-year Logan prime rate unchanged at 3.85%. The 5-year LPR was also left steady at 4.65%. Then in the world of cryptocurrencies, most coins plunged into the red as the crypto market cap stands at $2.59 trillion. Bitcoin continues to drift below the $60,000 mark as Biden tees up his pick for Federal Reserve chair. This announcement could have implications for the cryptocurrency industry, regulatory and monetary policy. The momentum seems to be still positive on a weekly basis, which is consistent with a bullish uptrend. Ether held steady for much of the weekend above the $4,300 mark. And on the trading front, this is a week of possible reduced trading activity as a result of US Thanksgiving holiday on Thursday. Investors following Bitcoin as an inflation hedge will also look for an early read on how holiday shoppers are responding to the fastest consumer price increases. Well, that's a wrap on the show today, but I hope you found the market closing commentary informative. Catch more updates tomorrow exclusively on Calcine TV. This is Holly Shields signing off for the day.